All right, back in the basement again today. I want to give you guys a quick update on my training. It's been going pretty good overall, but I just haven't had a lot to say because it hasn't been very different. Meaning for the past 4 weeks, I've literally been doing the same thing from week 1 to week 2 to week 3 to week 4. Nothing has changed in terms of the training protocols, which I think is pretty common of RTS. They give you the same thing over and over again until you can't recover from it, and then you pivot off of that. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm in a pivot phase, if you will, and I'm going into week 5 of my training. So the first 4 weeks were really identical, so I didn't really want to come and make a video on it because I wanted to see how it played out to give you some thoughts and feedback on that first part of the training. And overall, there's been some stuff that's been consistent, meaning I'm still training 4 times per week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm still benching 4 times per week. I'm squatting twice per week and deadlifting twice per week. And each day, I'm only doing 3 movements. And that's a big change for me because I've coming off of programs where I've done a ton of accessory movements past that. And to be honest, when I first saw this programming that Mike sent me, I was thinking to myself, this is going to be a nice change of pace because it's going to be shorter, consolidated training sessions, 3 exercises, not a lot of volume, in and out of the gym. I'll probably only be down there for an hour, which I was kind of looking forward to. I've had some longer sessions in the past with some of the hypertrophy blocks I was coming off of. And I couldn't have been more wrong. In fact, on average, these sessions, 3 exercises with low volume, have been taking me longer. And I think a big part of that is they're all compound movements. Most, if not all, are working up to a heavy single at 8 to start. And when I'm talking about benching, squatting, or deadlifting, that's relatively heavier weight. So there's more warm-up sets involved. There's more rest in between. Also making sure I dial in the RPEs appropriately for some movements that maybe I'm not as accustomed to, which I'll talk about in a second. And then doing subsequent back-off work, which is either percentage or RPE based. It's just been taking a lot of time. So I was really kind of thrown for a little bit of a loop with that, but I'm not complaining necessarily, just was not expecting it. Also not expecting some of the movements that he's been assigning. Obviously, there's things like benching, squatting, and deadlifting, the main competition style movements, and some variations of those that I've done a lot of, but there's also some stuff that either I haven't done in a long time or I haven't done at all. So like for instance, there's slingshot bench in here. So luckily I didn't get rid of my slingshot that I bought like 10 years ago and haven't used in probably just as long. But I've been doing one of my bench days as a slingshot bench day, so that's been interesting to play around with. I also have some stuff like plat squats in there, so I haven't done those before, but those are the devil, literally the worst movement I've ever done because they're sets of 10, and it's just like towards the end of the week, and I'm fried by then, and trying to figure out the right RPE. Every set feels like a heavy RPE in there. So it's been interesting to do some of those things. You've seen some pin squats if you follow me on Instagram. Haven't really done those before for any length of time. And also I'm doing some dumbbell benching, which I haven't, again, done in a long time. And it's nice that I have those Pep and Fast series available that I can actually do some heavier dumbbell benching now. But overall, things have been going really, really well. And I thought I'd check in just to let you know that I'm not dead yet. Now, one of the things I also want to follow up on from my first video is the logging. So I talked about getting this logbook, going back to pen and paper. And my main use case for this was I wanted to stay off of my phone and focus on my training. And to be honest, I found this logbook to actually be a little bit distracting. I say that because I get my programming from Mike through the RTS dashboard, so all of my training is located online. And in order to stay off my phone and checking it between sets and exercises, I'll have to go and actually take some time away from that to go and fill out this book to know exactly what I'm doing, so I'm not referencing my phone. I then have to go in there and do that, and when I'm done, I have to go and transfer it back to the phone or my computer or whatever the case may be. And to be honest, this has been more of just a pain in the butt. So I'm not saying that these things aren't useful, but it's actually kind of a little bit redundant because it's actually wasting time where I could just have my phone up and log into it and maybe just make better decisions between browsing things between sets and focusing on my work instead of Instagram or other forms of social media. All right, so another thing that I want to talk about before ending this video is velocity-based training. A lot of you guys have seen this thing tethered to my barbells. This is a Rep 1 velocity tracker. And I've actually surprisingly, at least surprising to me, have really enjoyed my time with it these past 4 weeks. Now, this isn't the be-all, end-all. I'm not doing pure velocity-based training, but it's helped give me some insight into my RPEs and how I rate them, which is super important. I've already mentioned that on this video today. So what I mean by that is if I'm working up to a top single at 8 and I hit that weight, and in my mind, I'm thinking, that felt like an 8, but I'm not 100% sure. The first thing I'll usually do is check the camera if I video my top sets, in which case I almost always do because I submit those to Mike. I take a look at the camera. And a lot of times on the camera, things actually look a lot better than they felt in my head at the time. So now I can actually go to a third judge in this case, if you will, and take a look at the velocity of the bar. And what that will show me is how fast that bar moved relative to some of my warm-up sets that I've more than likely rated at a lower RPE. And if the velocity of those lower RPEs match what I just thought was an 8, it probably tells me that yes, I am not rating that correctly and I need to go heavier or rate that top set at a lower RPE. Conversely, if it moved really, really slow in some instances, I'll know for sure that either my RPE was on target with my first initial thought and the camera was just misleading, or that I might even need to adjust my RPE even higher based off what the movement was. So I'll give you some more insight into this as I continue to use it again. Right now, just using it to gauge RPE, which I wouldn't suggest to a lot of people because these things I think cost like $400 and there's a back order for them. Luckily, I picked this one up secondhand for like $100 off or so, and I've really liked it. But again, I got a lot of stuff behind me that I don't really need, and it's not necessary to see progress, but it can potentially be helpful. Speaking of what can potentially be helpful, let me know what you want to see in the next version of this series in the comment section below. But in the meantime, as always, thanks for watching and stay big.